Welcome to the interview series, and we have a very special guest today, and she is going to be talking about her expertise in product development and design. So meet Jenny. Do you want to introduce yourself and tell us your current role and pretty much a bit of your background?
Yeah, so hi, I'm Jenny. I am a senior designer at a small London startup brand called Lost Ink.
Yeah.
We kind of sell and cover women's wear across like wovens, tailoring, jersey, and then we've kind of moved into swimwear and lingerie and loungewear, especially because of like COVID, kind of taking over more departments. Which is really exciting.
Amazing. So pretty much all of women's wear. You're an expert in it all.
I studied in London. I went to East London Uni. I moved down from up north. From there, I kind of got a design placement at River Island, where I kind of worked on women's dresses. I did that short placement for like a month, and then from there got my first job at a supplier, which is an outerwear supplier. And that's kind of where I first started specialist subjects like outerwear. We did coats for like a lot of the high street. From there, I then got a job at Zara, so like a big change, a huge company, again on outerwear. And then I moved back from Spain to work for Lost Ink, which was a startup at the time. And I've been there for nearly 5 years now.
Wow. Nice one. So good. So as I guess you can hear, Jen has worked at like numerous different brands and over a fairly substantial career now. So I guess firstly, just to quickly state it, like what course did you actually study at university?
So I studied fashion design, which was like a 3-year course.
Yeah, amazing. And then did you find it easy kind of progressing through your roles? Like obviously you said you started out obviously in outerwear and then you've moved into such a vast expertise now. Like how did that happen?
I think so obviously it was great working for a supplier, and then you kind of work for so many different companies. So you're working for under different price points, different handwriting, different ages, kinds of product. I went to Zara then to specialize, obviously under such like a big company, it's quite different. Like you learn so much more. And then I moved to Lost Ink to be a outerwear designer, but then as the brand got bigger and we started covering more areas, it was kind of like progressing within that role as well, and kind of teaching myself, and I was learning, different categories, like learning about more like woven fabrics, jerseys, just kind of like self-taught, and then learning from the people that you work with around.
Yeah, so that's probably music to a lot of people's ears, that you don't necessarily have to go and take a course in every single fabric, that you can learn on the job and learn from others, which is really good to hear. So let's now get a little bit into your expert field. So obviously, you're a designer, but you also cover product development. So just to clarify that those two kind of work in harmony. So what can you tell us? Like, how would you describe to the audience, like, what is product development?
Product development is kind of taking an idea, kind of based around like a trend that you're given, a color palette, a fabric, and kind of developing specific product around that.
Okay, amazing. So then so pretty much great answer. Like, what is then the process? So how do you get your trends? Like, where does a color palette come from? And then really, what are the next steps that people should be doing in product development?
So I kind of put our trends together for our brand. So kind of look at everything from catwalk research, what people are wearing right now, like street style, magazines, editorials, even like what films and TV shows are going to be launching around that, or in the run up to when that trend will be launching. Kind of color palette, obviously, then like is based around those ideas and the images that you find, kind of what you see coming through. Then I kind of look for like new fabrics, like textures across all areas, like wovens, jerseys, like kind of put almost a palette of fabrics around like the colors we want to work into.
Amazing.
And do something called key items. So we kind of sit and list within each category. So say you start with dresses, which is always our biggest category. Kind of list almost bestseller updates, like things that have to be in the range each season that you know sell at that time, and then really key pieces around the trends, like newness that you see coming through for each category. Then we kind of go away and sketch, work on as a team, like work on pencil sketches, and then almost like lay them out with the fabrics, see what the range would look like, kind of make amendments so that, you know, we've not got too many things with like long sleeves, too many things, you know, that cross over. Just make sure that the range looks really diverse, and then kind of go away and action the range once we're like happy with it.
Amazing. So a few questions in there. So I guess, when you're making those decisions, like, you know, too many long sleeves, or is it literally just like your opinion, or do you put like a commercial hat on, and like how do you make those decisions?
I think it's like a bit of both. You kind of like, as a designer, you're not always designing for yourself. It's not, you know, always going to be something that you will wear. You kind of have to, you know, identify who your customer's going to be, and kind of make sure that, you know, if you've had a bestseller that had, you know, a V-neck or like a puff sleeve or a long sleeve, just making sure that, you know, you have so many pieces that kind of cover that within the range. And also like opinion as well, and kind of working as a team, or just kind of, you know, you have to know that somebody would wear those pieces as well.
Amazing. And then just one quick question as well, back to kind of the beginning of what you said. When you first start out, so you mentioned like dresses is your biggest category. So are you actually working to a framework? Like, do you have an option plan, mixes? Like, how do you know what to design block wise?
So we kind of have an option plan that the buyers put together based on so many jersey dresses against woven, so many like mini dresses against like mid-axi and midi dresses, so that the range is, like I said, like quite diverse. So you've got a good mix in there for a customer to shop from.
Amazing. And do you have like, is that a part of a sign-off process? Like, I guess when you've got the trends, like, especially because you're writing them currently for your brand. So I guess, do you go in and kind of like argue back and say like, no, like this trend's huge, like we need more of them. Like, is that allowed?
Yeah, and I think especially you find that more in like a bigger company where you have a lot of like people that you're working with and a lot of opinions, and also kind of in a bigger company like the buyer or product developers are like trying to develop for kind of to hit things that have done well before. So it's almost like you trend wise want kind of newness in there as well. So I always find that is sometimes an arguing point, but like good kind of
always good. And I guess then that's definitely a point that we should talk about next. So it clearly is important to have like a second opinion. So how would you encourage startups, I guess, to like, they can't, well, they could, you could talk to yourself in the mirror, but how should they like go about doing like a sign off?
I think almost like you could go and find who you're, who will buy your product. It's all about like opinion, and it's
Yeah.
good to get like people's opinion on what they would wear about, even from sketch form or trend form,
Yeah.
kind of, would you wear this in a, lime green might be an amazing trend color, but
Yeah.
it might not be a color that everybody would wear. So it
Yeah.
could almost then be like, oh, you do some of it in lime green, but then you make sure you have your black things in there as well.
Yeah, yeah, totally. So yeah, I guess like that's perfect. Like a survey, like ask the audience. Sounds like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? You could do it like that. But yeah, I would definitely say, and you referenced this earlier too, that a successful brand, especially the design aspect, you do have to kind of take yourself out of the equation to a point and really remember that who is your target audience and do they like it. So yeah, it's important, I believe, and from what you're saying, that you do like sign it off and check in with other people. So yeah, so I guess you have then commercially decided what the range is. You've got your trends, you've got the commercial factor. So what then is like the next step? So you would obviously source the fabric. Like, do you have any reference points, like anything that you can share to say this is like a good way to go and find fabric?
So the way that we work is we source fabrics from the huge fabric market in Guangzhou in China. It's a crazy place. It's amazing. It has like so many fabric shops when you go there yourself.
Yeah.
But we kind of put together almost like a dream list of fabrics that we would want from there. Through images, even like going and sourcing swatches here. There's like points of reference, if you wanted like cords or also specific colors, and like putting Pantones, as much information, like, textures work really well for us. So it's like finding, the newest fabrics out there.
Yeah.
But then I say, if you're also gonna source your fabrics more locally, like you can go into some amazing shops in like London, for example, and source from there and almost like put a palette together. And
yeah, amazing. So I guess, if you're not literally at the source itself, that you can take someone else's as a reference point, as inspiration, and then like pass it to somebody else that can be more localized, and then they can go and source it for you. Yeah, amazing. So then, I guess then the next stage in the product development is actually like submitting it with the factory. So do you have any tips and advice to say, how that factory is right for your specific product development?
I mean, factory wise, I think it's always good to kind of find out what that factory's specialism is, kind of see maybe what they often have like a showcase range that you can look at, because it's always good, for example, if they have the machines to, and specialize in jersey, to use a factory that does that. And same, like, especially if you're doing something like tailoring, it's always good to use the factory that has like the right machines to do that.
Yeah, cool. That's good advice. And then, so then I guess from my perspective, as one of the next really important things, which definitely is like a product developer, designer, you have to be involved in, but the fit process. So, we've all been there where you've sketched something beautiful, you get it back and you're like, what's this? So can you give any advice to people, like what should they look out for in the fit process? And from like your side of the product development, like what's the most important factors to look out for?
I think when you're developing products, I think the more information that you can give for a pattern cutter, for a machinist, to a factory to make, that is just to put as much information on your like development spec. So like measurements, kind of images or reference of like, you might have a vintage sample that you're taking a little part of, like sending that to them, or like taking as many photos as you can. But I think the important thing to remember is not everything always comes back perfect first time. And, you can have a few things that come back and it's like, wow. But,
yeah, how did that happen?
yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So I guess then it's definitely like, if you're privileged enough to have like multiple people in your team, but I'd say, what would you say like the difference? Like, are you really focusing on, does it look like my sketch, or are you still thinking like the fit? Like, what are you really focusing in on?
I think both. I think to get the design aspects right and the elements, in the right places, the right trims, but also, it's super important that it fits right. And, I think especially if you want it to be something like fitted, like fit is really important, because obviously you could have the nicest dress in the world, but if somebody buys it and tries it on at home and it doesn't fit, they're going to send that dress back. So like fit is definitely really important.
Yeah, definitely. That's like a huge point to note for sure. Fit is everything, definitely. Now you've explained the process, let's kind of get to some a bit more like top line questions in a sense. So product development, as you explained it, is, you're looking at the trend and then you're building your range and then so on and so forth. But then what happens when you get a bestseller? Like, what would you advise to new startups? Like, how do you deal with a bestseller?
I say you kind of have to think of why it was a bestseller, like what people love about it. Kind of, it could be the fit, it could be the fabric, it could be the color, it could be that it's like a real on point trend piece. So I think if it was more of a classic and, they like, say it was a black, like really simple jumper. I think the important thing is like to not move it on too much into something too far away. It's almost like you could offer it in another really easy color. Like, imagine how the customer's going to wear it. If it's a trend piece, I think it's always good to think, whether the customer will want that piece again, season, or what could be the new version of that.
Okay. So question the why. And I guess, again, which another way maybe to do that is you could, again, speak to the customers. Hey, like the ones that have purchased it, you could send a follow-up email and actually literally ask them. But every bit of advice you just gave there, like, I couldn't agree more. So I think, that's definitely, again, in that very beginning stage of like, how many options, how many should be dresses, how many should be XYZ, that definitely bestsellers should be something that is part of the mix for sure. So let's go into a few like what to look out for, like alarm bells. So what would you say like you've experienced, or like what could be the biggest challenges that startups might have like in product development? Like, what should they really look out for? What's challenging?
I think one really important thing for a startup is to kind of make sure that you have like processes in place. So, kind of timelines, like critical path, like to work to, just to make sure that, each part of the process, from design right through to production, through to fitting, through to actually selling it, you don't kind of take too long on an element so that everything else pushes out. I'd say that was really important.
Perfect. Amazing. Great tip and advice. Thank you. And I guess for like, again, fashion brands just starting out that might be really nervous, like, oh my God, like, how do I start this? What do I do? Do you have just any bits of advice that you could give a startup to just, tell them that it's not overwhelming, you can do it?
Yeah, I'd say like to just write all your ideas down, so kind of get them together. And
Yeah.
like we said, I think like to have like a focus group, or even if that's like a group of friends, just to like
Yeah.
get your ideas together to kind of understand what your would-be customer would want, kind of pull together, you know, where you could get your fabrics from, where you could make your garments, kind of who you could work with, and kind of, yeah, a business plan, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. And yeah, I guess one maybe a bit out there question for those maybe considering like, do I like shop by my designs, or shall I actually, you know, bespoke draw my own collection, like design my own collection? Like, what do you have an opinion on that? Like what you know, encourage brands to actually design, create their own, as opposed to kind of, yeah, taking someone else's design or purchasing into, yeah, like a design that's already on the market.
I'd definitely say to go down the route of designing or working with a designer on a collection.
Yeah.
I think there's so many brands that are like crossing over and that are quite similar out there. And I think the important thing is to just be different, to be niche,
Yeah.
to have a reason for a customer to come and shop your designs.
Yeah.
I'd say that was really important.
What makes a bestseller? Like, what would you say you kind of need to tune into as a designer, yeah, to try and create those bestsellers?
I'd say like either something really on point, like trends, like something that you really see and vision that everyone's going to want come next year, next season that you're designing for.
Yeah.
Or like think of what you and your customers would want as like the perfect piece. If it's winter, what is that like
Yeah.
perfect jumper?
Yeah.
What are those like perfect pair of trousers?
Yeah. Definitely. Okay, amazing. Thank you. And then, yeah, one kind of like last bit, are there any like references, any sources that you know, like quite heavily depend on, or that you love, that you think that startups should use?
Kind of research wise, do a lot of kind of research on like Pinterest, Instagram. Like I think it's important just to kind of be on top of what other people are seeing, what people are wearing, like new ways to wear it, kind of, and almost progressing that into something even newer, like the next thing that people want to wear.
What would you say, just out of interest, because I think it's such a hot topic at the moment, so sustainability, like, you know, how important is that? So I guess there's two parts to that question, but do you think that fashion brands starting out, it's a must, like they should be doing it somehow, some way? Yeah, what's your opinion?
I really, really think that, yeah, as a startup, if you can, like being sustainable is like a definite must. I think it will put your brand ahead of a brand that isn't. I think, you know, it's such a huge thing right now. It does contribute a lot to climate change, and you know, it's a huge topic right now. And I think there's so many amazing fabrics that you can get out there that are sustainable, like that are recycled. And I think, like, why not, if you can really elevate your brand to be kind of good for the planet?
Yeah, couldn't agree more again. Like it was far harder in 2019, really, like way less like resources, but yeah, there are so many options now that yeah, it would be a shame, I guess, to not like go down that route, and yeah, try do your bit. And it can be a progressive step by step, like, yeah, so it doesn't have to happen overnight. And yeah, any final words to people, yeah, just starting out, like words of encouragement, whatever you want to say? What would you end the interview with?
I'd say it's just so exciting, like just go for it. Like there's like so many opportunities out there for like new startups, and yeah, just don't be scared, just yeah, go for it.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Jenny, for joining us. And yeah, I will link to Jenny's Instagram so we can all go and check out her style and what she gets up to for reference points. But yeah, thank you so much for joining us, and